The chief of a Northern Ontario reserve that garnered international media attention last year for its deplorable living conditions says she's giving up food until the Prime Minister and the Queen agree to discuss treaty rights at a meeting with First Nations. The hunger strike announced by Chief Teresa Spence was just one of a number of actions taken Monday by First Nations members who say they are tired of watching from the sidelines as the federal Conservative government enacts laws that affect their lands and people. The reason why I'm doing this is to tell the Prime Minister and the Crown to sit down at the table with the First Nations leadership because the treaty's been violated for so many years, and it's time for the Prime Minister to honor and respect our leaders, Ms. Spence told the reporters at a news conference outside the Parliament buildings. Ms. Spence will be staying in a cabin on Victoria Island in the Ottawa River while she goes without food. I am willing to die for my people because the pain is too much and it's time for the government to realize what it's doing to us, she said. I am not afraid to die. If that's the journey for me to go, then I will go, and I'm looking forward to it. A spokeswoman for Mr. Harper said the government has respected its duty to consult with First Nations. Every year, she said, there are more than 5,000 such consultations, and since 2012, the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs has personally visited 50 First Nations communities. But Native activists have formed a group called Idle No More to protest what they say is an unilateral action by Ottawa. On Monday, they held rallies at 7 places across the country, including today at Halifax. And the Calgary constituency office of Mr. Harper. They are angry with a number of bills currently before Parliament. One would require First Nations to publicly disclose their financial statements and the remuneration paid to chiefs and councillors. Another would set standards for drinking water on reserves without providing funding to upgrade water systems. Another would change property rights on reserves. And they are particularly upset about a massive budget implementation that would weaken environmental oversight and amend the Indian Act in ways they say will make it easier for First Nations to surrender their land. Today we've seen action across the country for change by our peoples, for our peoples, showing that First Nations are here to stay and will not idle in the face of unilateral approaches by other governments. A number of chiefs tried to get on the floor of House of Commons last week to talk to the politicians about their grievances, but were rebuffed by security guards.
To this nation, then mobilize and labor for total assimilation. Why must we fight to make these people understand? Why can't they see that we share with them this land? This policy, this bill, this marker of disdain will leave this country barren and his government to gain. For who next in the design laying their conservative tracks? A Canadian who, in better judgment, lacks an oath and a handshake to later rescind when his convoy had scattered our propriety to the wind. I fear for my child and close my eyes. I fear to think of her future unrealized. Living without our speak and our ways, numbered and counted our cultural days. Walalia.
Ms. Spence has the support of all of the chiefs, said Cliff Summers. There's a decision by a lot of grassroots peoples that we have to make a stand and we have to take actions, Mr. Summers said. Inaction is what's killing our people.
Dalawa ina mo ina, na mo ina, also ma dalawa ga chubal tes karu di. Kan ma wi ja. Atla she to ne ich ka lotus. I just did a simple prayer. It's to open a meeting because today we're meeting together with the youth, you know, with the native women, with the chiefs, with the Grand Council, with all of us, with our neighbours. And all the prayer says is that come into where we are, bring the wisdom and the strength that our ancestors had when they talked, when they sat down and discussed, you know, the peace and friendship treaties. That is what the little prayer says. But it includes all of us in Mi'kmaq. It's about time we started calling Nova Scotia what it is. Atlantic Canada for what it is, Mi'kmaq.
To get this thing started, because we're involved in a new Mi'kmaq renaissance. A renaissance based on education, based on unity, and I ask our youth to continue with that education and unity. I've often reminded about the 7th generation prophecy during my times with AFN, and they said that 7 generations after the Europeans arrive, our youth will lead and take us to where a place of prosperity. And we're now in that 7th generation. I just want to close today, and I didn't know if the Grand Captain was going to be here, but I'm going to quote him from last year, 25th anniversary of our Treaty Day, when he said, "For 25 years we have stood up and let government know that we will not go away, that we will not go quietly into the night, that we will persevere, that we are prepared to fight. And if it takes another 25 years, you can be sure that as Mi'kmaq, proud, determined, resilient, we are here for the long haul. And believe me, we are just getting warmed up." Thank you.